What's going on, everybody? I am JD. She is Lady M. As a reminder, you can catch us every Friday at 3 p.m. Arizona time. I feel like we need to say that now because the rest of the
Yeah.
planet's going to be doing daylight savings time on Sunday. We don't do that. We
Haha.
just we just jump time zones. So 3 p.m. Arizona time. Currently, as of today, we are 3 hours behind the East Coast. On Sunday, just to clarify, we will be 2 hours behind the East Coast. So, yep, 3 p.m. our time. Don't forget, though, as well, we also have our football show on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Arizona time every Wednesday. If you miss any of our shows, basketball or football, and you want to listen to our podcast, you can catch up with those shows on www.heroesmediagroup.com. If you want to listen to the podcast, you can also watch the recordings on our YouTube channel, or just kind of by perusing our Facebook page. So there is that. What do you say we jump into it?
Yeah.
All right, what's first?
First quarter headlines and horrible dad jokes.
All right, so we poke fun at each other's moms on Wednesdays, but Fridays belongs to horrible dad jokes. So headlines and horrible dad jokes. Headline number one: NBA coaches are now going to get paid a portion of the NBA league pool for the in-season tournament. So a little bit more incentive to push your team to actually try during this tournament. They're really pushing hard for this to be a cool thing. So the head coaches of the tournament's winning teams will be awarded $500,000, pretty much the same as the players' pool. That prize money will go down every round in the quarterfinals. So if you all the way down to the quarterfinals. So if you only make it to the quarterfinals, you only make a little bit. If you make it to the finals and win, you make $500,000. The assistant coaches will be paid 75% of the winning coach's total. So, first joke. Did you know that the Invisible Man married the Invisible Woman?
No.
All right. Apparently, though, their kids are nothing to look at. Headline number two. So stupid. Headline number two: Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd will not be coaching tonight due to a non-COVID illness. I like how, like, anytime anybody comes down with like a sickness now, it always has
You
to be
have to
pre-framed
specify.
with non-COVID illness.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's got a non-COVID illness. He'll be out for tonight. I believe they've got assistant coach Sean Sweeney act as acting head coach. So my question with that is, going back to the previous headline, like, so does Sweeney, if Dallas wins it all, does he get a slightly larger portion because he was head coach for one game? Interesting. Like, hey, I stepped in and played a bigger role. I should get a little bit bigger pot, a couple
Right.
more bucks in my pocket. Anyway, they actually have to travel to Denver tonight to take on the 4-1 Nuggets. Lady M, when you have time, not right now because you're busy, check out our Facebook page. There is an article in there. The home teams for these tournament games on Fridays and Tuesdays, they have a tournament theme for their home court. Like the colors are completely different. The design is different. It actually looks pretty cool. So
So
I'd
it'd be
be
obvious
interested.
right away it's a tournament game.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I
like
stand out.
I definitely, like, everybody listening out there, check them out. Let us know which court you feel is designed the coolest. The Celtics have a very dark court.
Yeah.
I think I only got a glimpse of it, but I think it's like a dark green with the white like 3-point lines and stuff.
Well, that could be
So
pretty stunning,
that's
though.
pretty cool. So
Yeah.
you definitely want to check those out. So the courts will look different. It will have a tournament design to it with the trophy on the court. So looks pretty cool. All right. What do you call a man with a rubber toe?
I don't know.
Roberto. Roberto. He's got a rubber toe. He's got a rubber toe. Roberto. Stupid. Bad. Even worse. I tried to explain it. All right. Headline number Victor Wembanyama scorched the Suns last night here in the Valley with a season high 38 points for the rookie.
He seems like he's killing it right out the bat.
I like it. I like it even more when I win money betting on him. A nice little single game parlay last night that put me up on the day strictly because of his performance. I think I'm going to be doing a Wemby. Everybody's calling him Wemby. A Wemby single game parlay anytime he plays. So I like that. All right.
Yeah. On a side note, dressed up in a pretty cool costume as Slender Man for Halloween. I've seen some pictures go around.
Oh, you saw that?
You
saw that? It was pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
All right. What kind of magic do cows believe in? Kind of magic do cows believe in? Moodoo. 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 It's horrible. Hey, we told you headlines and horrible dad jokes.
Yeah.
All right. Headline number 4. James Harden talked to the media at his new team's, the Clippers facility, and said, okay, so basically, before I read this, this is a classic breakup.
Yeah,
he was horrible to me. He was horrible for us. Yeah. So James Harden talked to the media and said Philadelphia tried to change the way he plays to basically fit their narrative. He also talked about he was very precise, $26 million less to help the team get better, but is upset that nobody's talking about that kind of stuff. His former teammate, head guy on the Sixers, Joel Embiid, on the other hand, said, quote, "We gave him the ball every possession to let him do his thing." Okay,
this might be another case of his ego ran away with him.
Yeah. Look,
a lot of that.
It's not like he played bad. He got the award for the assist award, and Joel Embiid won MVP because of it.
Right.
So, like, he had the ball in his hand a lot.
Yeah.
You're not going to not have the ball in your hand and win the assist award for the league. So, this again is basically like, he was bad to me, he was bad to us, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of childish. Move on. Final joke. Lady M.
Yes.
What kind of Christmas gift makes people's face light up when they open it?
I don't know what.
A refrigerator.
That's not a good Christmas gift. I don't even know who needs to hear that right now.
Look,
that's a household necessity. That's not a Christmas gift.
Would you not love a more modernized, like one of the big IT ones with the screens on the front of the fridge? We don't have one of those. We've got a fridge from like the 90s.
Yeah, we've got the original stuff that this house had. I'm pretty sure it's all fallen to pieces.
I mean, it all still works good and everything, but like, yeah, I want a smart fridge that tells me what's in the fridge.
That doesn't count as a Christmas gift, though. That's like a household necessity. That's like getting somebody a new set of towels because their old towels are all ratty. Or, I mean,
good
you
to
can't,
know.
but the point.
Let me cancel your. Let me go on to my Amazon account.
They wouldn't get themselves. Like, they could save up and get their own fridge.
I am canceling your towels on Amazon. Good to know. Got it.
Get someone something like a video game they want to play.
You know what? You know what's a cool toy to play with is a mop. I ordered you one of those too. So, like, just to show how much I love you. It is absolutely awesome. No, that's not a good toy. Maybe I need some help asking what to get you for Christmas. So just so I understand this, appliances are not a good Christmas gift.
They're not a good anything gift. They're a necessity you need for the house. Like, I would be upset if I got a vacuum for my birthday or
once again like jumping on Amazon. Let's
fair warning
that one. I mean, that's not until next July. So
close.
I got one right. All right, moving on. What's next?
Second quarter in-season tournament schedule for tonight.
All right. So, hey, so you know how like on our football show, we do our locks of the week?
Mm.
All right. So I thought it would be fun for us to do our locks of the tournament. So every Friday we will pick every game and see who gets the most right. Okay. Because right now, I mean, it's the beginning of the season. Each team's only played 4, maybe 5 games. So, like, we really have nothing to go off of other than their record right now and kind of how we feel. But this seems like it would be perfect for you. So we will go game by game and each pick our winners. Write these down, and let's see who can get more right on these. And we'll also pick Tuesdays as well, but we'll do Tuesdays on Tuesday and just post those on our Facebook page. So this is just something fun that we'll do. All right. So the first game 1, you have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Why can't I talk right now? At the Pacers. Cavs are 2-3. Pacers are 2-2. Pacers, by the way, if you forgot, just got beat down by the Boston Celtics by 51. So you got the Cavs. Are the Pacers going to bounce back? I will give you first pick in this game.
I'm very out of touch with basketball, so I'm going to go with the Pacers.
Everybody is.
Because I've heard of them regularly. I don't even think I've heard the word Cavaliers before. So that's my reasoning.
Really?
They should want a revenge win too after their SmackDown, so we'll see.
Okay, I'll give you that. All right, and I will take the Cavs in this one. I will take the Cavaliers in this one. I think the Cavs are much better than the Pacers. I don't understand why they're 2-3, but they should be better. All right, game 2. You got the Knicks at 2-3 at the Milwaukee Bucks.
I'm gonna take the Bucks.
See, you've heard of the Bucks.
I've heard of the Bucks.
Yeah, I've heard of the Knicks
the Knicks too, but I'm still gonna take the Bucks.
I think you're smart in that one. I am going to agree with you. Circle gets a square. I will take the Bucks as well. All right, next game. Game 3, we got the Wizards at 1-3 at the Miami Heat at 1-4. These disappointing starts for both of these teams. Right. Who you got?
I think I'm going to go Heat. I've heard more talk about them in general, so.
All right, I'm going to go with you on that one. I don't understand what they're struggling from.
Right.
Maybe because all their bench shooters are gone. Like Strus is on the Cavaliers. He played a huge part on their team. Like they lost a few others too. So maybe the real Heat that actually beat the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, maybe they're just not that good this year without their role players. But I mean, it's only 5 games in. We'll see. Did I say Heat? I took the Heat on that one too.
Yes, you did.
All right. Next game. The Brooklyn Nets at 2-2 at the Chicago Bulls at 2-3. Michael Jordan is not playing tonight, apparently. Who knew? All right. Likewise, the Nets have no Mark Price or Craig Elo. So you're gonna go who?
I'm gonna go Nets.
You're gonna go Nets. It's interesting. Very interesting. I'm going to take the home team. I like this home team thing I got going on with the exception of game 1. So I'll take the Chicago Bulls.
Okay.
At home. All right. Next game. I know you've heard of this team. The Golden State Warriors, led by Steph Curry, going against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Warriors 4-1. Thunder is 3-2. Is our 3-2. Who wins this game?
The Warriors.
The Warriors. Warriors are favored by like 6. I think I might actually look into that bet. I'm going to take the Warriors as well, but I trust them just barely a little bit more than I would trust the Thunder to pull the upset. It wouldn't surprise me if they lose this game. It really wasn't. All right. The Dallas Mavericks at 4-0 at the Denver Nuggets in Mile High City, the defending, reigning champions. The Denver Nuggets.
Here's a weird question. The Nuggets have Joker, right? Is that the team
The
he plays
Nuggets
on?
have Joker.
Okay.
Yes.
Then
1
I'm
point for
Nuggets.
you. All right. All right.
He stands out. What can I say?
How do I want to do this? Can the Mavericks stay undefeated? No, I think the Nuggets have this one. Now Joker is probable for tonight, which means he's going to play. More likely he is going to play. So, yeah, I'll take the Nuggets in that one as well. Final game of the night, the worst team in the NBA through 5 games, the Memphis Grizzlies at 0-5 at the 2-3 Portland Trailblazers.
I don't really know either of these teams, so I'm just going to go straight wild with this one and say Grizzlies will get their first win.
All right. I mean, they got a decent opportunity. It's not a bad matchup. So Marcus Smart, former Celtic, on the Grizzlies, at the former Phoenix Sun, DeAndre Ayton, Trailblazers. I'm taking the Trailblazers. I'm taking the Blazers in this one.
Okay.
All right, so run down. Who do you got and who do I got?
Okay. Oh, I'm going to actually have to scroll. So game 1, I took the Pacers. You took the Cavaliers. Game 2, we both took the Bucks. Game 3, we both took the Heat. Game 4, I took the Nets. You took the Bulls. Game 5, we both took the Warriors. Game 6, we both took the Nuggets. And Game 7, I took the Grizzlies and you took the Trailblazers.
All right, so we're on the same page on quite a few
Not
of
a
those.
lot.
Not a lot. I mean, there's only 7 games. Now, again, we will pick Tuesday's tournament Tuesday, and we will throw that up on our Facebook page as well, just to kind of see. Now, this tournament goes into December, so I mean, let's have a little bit of fun with it. All right, what's next?
Third quarter DraftKings DFS build for tonight and best bets.
All right, so I got 2 builds. There's only 7 games, so I went ahead and I did the 7-game DraftKings DFS tournament play, and I've got that roster starting out. So in this, for the NBA, you have to pick a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, guard, forward, and a utility guy. Again, you got to stay within the $50K budget. So here we go. I think I still had a couple hundred left over on this. So point guard for Miami, the only guy that seems to be scoring right now is Tyler Hero at 8,100. At shooting guard, I've got Thomas from Brooklyn at 7,200. I picked up Roddy at small forward out of Memphis at 3,800, so I'll be looking for him tonight. I don't expect too much out of my cheap guys. I just want them to get like maybe 10, 15 points if you can get it for me. A blessing would be 20 points total with assists, blocks, all the stats combined. If you can get around 20, I'll be happy with that. At power forward, I've got Kyle Kuzma out of Washington, 7,800. He's the leader on the team. He usually plays pretty well, has a decent all-around game. At center, I was talking about him a minute ago. I've got the former Phoenix Sun, DeAndre Ayton, up in Portland at 6,600. At guard, Max Strus, the former Miami Heat sharpshooter. He is in Cleveland at 6,200. I've got the former Boston Celtic, Grant Williams, for Dallas tonight at 4,800. Grant Williams just came off of a hell of a game, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about him during the single game parlay. Utility guy, I've got Walker the Fourth at 5,300. Throw him in there. Showdown DFS. So I picked one game tonight. It is a highlight game. It's on ESPN. It's the late game. It's the best game. It is Denver hosting the Dallas Mavericks, the undefeated Dallas Mavericks. So I've got at captain Luka Doncic at 19.8. It's a tall price on that one. That's a huge price tag, but he's next to Joker. He is the best player. He may even be, if Joker's 1A, then Luka is 1B on the court tonight. So I got Luka at 19.8. I've got Tim Hardaway Jr. for Dallas at 6,200. I do have Joker in there at 12.4. I got Derek Jones Derek Jones Jr. He is not taking steroids. He's not a juicer. Derek Jones Jr. for Dallas at 3,400. I've got Peyton Watson for Denver at 2,400. And I've got Grant Williams for Dallas at 5,000. That's what happens when you put these big name guys on the team that cost 19.8, that cost 12.4. You got to find some bench players to get you a few points. So I'm hoping that my bench players have a good game. I do have a really nice single game parlay for you for this game based around Grant Williams. The last game, Grant Williams had like 25 points, hit 7 3-pointers. So I focused on him on this one. I got Grant Williams tonight over 8.5 points. Grant Williams over 1.5 3-pointers. Grant Williams, by the way, if I could say the name Grant Williams 3 or 4 more times for you, Grant Williams, by the way, the over is 1.5 3-pointers. He's only shot in 4 games less than 4 3-pointers, or made less than 4 3-pointers one time. So I love that over 1.5, which means he only needs to make 2. I got Jamal Murray over 7.5 assists, and I got Luka over 7.5 assists as well. That's at plus 1,600. You bet $100, you win 1,700. Just calm down, baby. You know I don't bet $100 on a bet, but I might drop $10 to win 170. I think that's better. As a matter of fact, I think I already made that bet. So if I drop, oh, by the way, babe, I just dropped $300 on my single game parlay tonight, you would probably yell at me. So even though, I mean, it's part of the winnings. So, I mean, technically, that started with the $20 we put in that pot last week. I think it was. So,
that sounds right.
Not bad. So I've already got enough to cover basically anything that I want to play. So again, that single game parlay tonight for DraftKings is Grant Williams over 8.5 points, Grant Williams over 1.5 3-pointers, Jamal Murray over 7.5 assists, and Luka Doncic over 7.5 assists. That bet puts you at about plus 1,600. Shout out to everybody that's listening. Karina, thank you for tuning in. Awesome. All right. Lady M, what's next?
Fourth quarter, baseball origins. You wrote baseball.
we don't do a baseball show, babe.
Completely derailed me. Basketball origins. Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight, rest in peace, the great coach, Bobby Knight. So we thought it would be special. Usually, like last week, you did the origins of basketball.
Yeah.
Well, when you talk about basketball, you got to talk about Bobby Knight. So break it down for us. Basketball origins, Bobby Knight.
So Coach Bobby Knight, the general, passed away at home surrounded by family and friends on November 1st. His family asks anyone who wishes to honor Coach Knight make a memorial contribution to the Alzheimer's Association at Marian University. Just wanted to mention that if there's any fans listening, wanted to show some respects. Mercurial, volatile, polarizing, abusive, brilliant, perfectionist. These are all words that I read when I was doing my research on Bobby Knight. He's quite a character, honestly. There's so much in the extreme love and fandom, and so much in the I hate, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, you mentioned it before the show. He would not last in today's culture.
No, he would have been canceled for sure.
Very old school.
Bob Costas once called him college basketball's raging bull.
Accurate.
Yeah. For everything I read, it sure sounded that way. All right, so he was born in Ohio in 1940. His father worked the railroad. His mother was a school teacher. He grew up close to his maternal grandmother, who actually lived with the family in their house. She's the one that taught him to drive, that type of thing. He was 6'1" tall in junior high when he started playing basketball. By his senior year of high school, he was full grown 6'4" and led them to the state playoffs. So he also played for the Ohio Buckeyes. They won the national championship his sophomore year. His coach and role model, who's a Hall of Famer these days, Fred Taylor, is the one that actually recommended for him to join the Army. So he enlisted to become the assistant coach at West Point in 1963. He was promoted to head coach after just 2 years, becoming the youngest Division I head coach in the country at 24 years old. So that's impressive. Like, by any standards in the sport, that's impressive. With the Army, he had 4 postseason appearances in 6 seasons and won 2/3 of his games, going 102 wins, 50 losses.
All right.
Also really impressive. And yes, there were already a bunch of rumors about his temper stemming all the way back to then. In 1971, he became the head coach of Indiana University, where he would go on to coach for the next 29 years. His Indiana program was national top tier while upholding academic standards. Like, almost all of his players also graduated. That's a big one. That's not as common as it should be in educational sports. He also managed to avoid pay-to-play recruitment scandals, which were especially around like in the 70s, that was a big thing. He's known for his very above the board recruitment practices.
Yeah.
In the 72-73 season and in the 73-74 seasons, he won the Big Ten title. In 74-75, he won 63 of 64 games and the Big Ten championship. Now, that number doesn't sound quite exactly right to me, 63 or 64. You can blame the New York Times for that if that's wrong.
No, that's about right.
The numbers were all over the place, and so I kind of just went with what I felt like was the best source.
It's about 30 or so games a year, depending on how far you go in the tournament.
Okay. In 1975, he was named Associated Press Coach of the Year. In the 75-76 season, the team went undefeated all the way to the championship. They won the NCAA championship in 76, and they finished the season with 32 wins, 0 losses. They were only the 7th team to ever do that. And as of today, they were the last team that managed to do that. Nobody else has managed since then. He was also named... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's amazing.
Yeah. He was also named Coach of the Year for the 2nd time. Now, he is a very controversial figure, so we're getting into one of his first big controversies now. When he was coaching the American team at the Pan American Games in Puerto Rico in 1979, he ended up getting in a fist fight with a police officer. He was trying to get into a basketball court 15 minutes early, and I believe like the Brazilian girls team was still playing or something, but people in the area, witnesses, all said the officer was actually at fault. But Coach Knight is the one that was arrested and pressed charges with assault charges. So after the American team won the National Invitation Tournament, or the NIT, in the finals, he was mouthing off where reporters could hear him saying a lot of disparaging things about Puerto Rico in general, including like their basketball's easier to beat than their court system. So there was a lot worse. That's the one I'm the most comfortable saying out loud. He left before his trial and was actually convicted in absentia. Like, he was supposed to serve 6 months jail time in Puerto Rico, but Indiana refused to extradite him. So he never served that time, but he was technically convicted.
Interesting.
he just left. I guess that's one way to do it.
No, thanks. I don't feel like going to jail.
In 1979-1980 season, his team won the Big Ten Conference again. In 1980-1981 season, he won his second NCAA championship. In 1984, he coached the American basketball Olympic team to a gold medal. Now, there's controversy over that appointment because of his quote unquote shameful conduct while in Puerto Rico, like international splashback for having him be the coach. But it's also important to mention this was the last amateur American team to ever win the gold. Anytime we've won the gold since then, it's not been an amateur team that did it.
No.
So during an interview with Playboy in 1984, of all things, he has this quote that I wanted to read about. Basically, it stems to how he treated the referees, because a huge part of his temper was he would just berate and be nasty to the referees constantly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This kind of summed up his attitude to me. Like, I'm not saying I agree, but I understood his mentality a bit better from it. So he says, I don't think there's an official in the country who knows as much about basketball as I do. Not even close. Or as much as any other coach knows. And when I've got a complaint, I want it listened to. I've seen an official not watch for traveling. I've seen him watch the flight of the ball instead of the shooter's hand afterward, whether or not he gets hit. I think that basketball officiating is tough, but I don't think there are very many officials who know how to watch logically from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 in a given position on the floor. And when I see somebody violate the logical progression of what he should be looking for, then I'm going to let him know about it.
All right. And he did.
Yeah. I mean, that it made sense about a lot of what I read. Started making sense after that quote. I was like, okay, that's where he was coming from. Sure. So in one of his other biggest controversies, other than getting in a fist fight with a police officer, in a game against Purdue in 1985, Knight snapped. They were trailing 5 minutes into the game, and Knight's meltdown included him hurling a chair onto the court, which
that
got him
is
ejected
so
from the
famous.
game and suspended from the next. That is still a pop culture term for anger. I'm going to throw a chair. Like, I'm 100% sure that's what that dates back to.
Oh, yeah. I still have that. Like, I know that video.
That image.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize that was him when I was reading. I was like, oh, he's the coach that did that. Because I vaguely remember, even as a kid.
Yep.
Everybody was just shocked. So in 1985-86 season, he allowed sports writer John Feinstein to write a book about him called A Season on the Brink. So this book revealed like his detail-oriented game preparation, his standards and grueling workouts for the players, and even his charitable deeds. But what made it a bestseller was all of the fury and the profanity that were in the pages. People were kind of shocked and /smitten by that. So one of the things that I read that tickled my fancy about this, when Coach Knight read chapter 1, there's a description in there of him berating somebody in the locker room, right? Yeah. He was genuinely surprised and shocked by how much he swore. And now the author actually cleaned it up before he put everything in there. He said he removed 80% of the F-bombs and every single instance of the word that rhymes with bunt. I just, that like, you know, some people are really unaware of what they're like and how they come across or what they're saying or what words they're even using. But this was almost shocking to me to hear him be like, oh my goodness, I swore. Sir.
Sometimes it's just natural. It comes off like a natural language to people.
It does.
I don't even realize it.
So in 1987, he won his third NCAA championship. He was also nominated that year for the Basketball Hall of Fame, but voters rejected him, which was something he remained bitter about. He called it a slap in the face. He was very sensitive, I think, about any, what do you call it? Criticism. Maybe it's the right word. So in a 1988 interview, this is another huge controversy with Connie Chung, he made a very poor wording choice, meaning to say sometimes bad things happen and you just have to deal with it. But what he actually said with his words out loud was, I think that if rape is inevitable, relax and enjoy it. And he realized as soon as he said it, that should never
Wow.
have come out of his mouth, and immediately backpedaled. So he also said, I'm not talking about that, about the act of rape. Don't misinterpret me there. What I'm talking about is sometimes something happens to you, so you have to handle it now. Now, he also happened to believe that this was off the record because the interview was very casual, and he told the studio not to include that, and they aired it anyways, which obviously caused a lot of splashback for the man. So in his autobiography, which was written by Bob Handel called Night, My Story, he actually kind of tore up Chung as a reporter. So much drama. Yeah. In 1989, he won Coach of the Year award for the third time in his career. In 1991, he was renominated for the Basketball Hall of Fame. I want to mention this was against his will. He was still mad at them for not voting for him in 87, but he ended up inducted in 91 against his will. In 1991-92 season, he had another Big Ten championship, and they actually reached the Final Four that year. And his 92-93 team also won the Big Ten. Now, between 91-92 and 92-93, they won 87 games, which broke his own record from the 70s. In 1997, in an act that would ultimately lead to his dismissal, he grabbed player Neil Reed by the throat and appeared to choke him. So a video of this incident surfaced in 1999, and Indiana President Miles Brand suspended Knight for 3 games, fined him $30,000, and put him on a zero tolerance policy. So 7 months later, a passing student hollered something along the lines of, "Hey, Knight, what's up?" But just Knight, no honorific. So according to the student, he was grabbed like violently by the arm, and he's sworn into his face about, "You call me Coach Knight or Mr. Knight, blah, blah, blah." According to Coach Knight, he gently touched the kid on the arm and just explained to him that you need to use honorifics to show respect to your elders. So he felt that he was being treated unfairly. So Brand offered to let him resign, and he refused, which ended up with Miles Brand firing Coach Knight. Something that he held very bitterly in his heart, by the way. He never was okay with that. And I would also mention that a lot of the fans and stuff were just as upset as Coach Knight was. So that night that he was fired, thousands of Indiana students marched from Indiana University's Assembly Hall to Brand's home, burning Brand in effigy. Wow. So after that, Knight ended up coaching at Texas Tech for another 6 years. He led them to 5 20-win seasons, which was a first for the school. It's the best that they've done till then. But it was like just a moderate success for him personally. So he ended up retiring in the middle of the season in 2008 after 42 years of coaching basketball.
Wow. From
From there, he went on to be a sports commentator for ESPN until 2015 when they declined to renew his contract. So I don't want to get political, but it's kind of funny to me. So I'm going to mention his very last public appearance where he was actually in the public eye was during the 2016 elections. He's a Trump supporter. So he was quoted as saying, "That son of a bitch can play for me," at an event sport, who ended up becoming president. In 2016, Todd Jadlow, who was a forward of the 1987 championship team, wrote a memoir. And in that memoir, he said things like the team had to run while barking like dogs. He had a clipboard broken on his head. He had his testicles squished. He even, with all of that kind of stuff in the book, his final stance on it is, "I still had a lot of respect for him and look at him as a father figure." Found that fairly interesting, but the book itself caused a lot of controversy when it came out because of the things he said in there.
Yeah.
So Knight had always refused to mend fences with Indiana. They reached out to him multiple times to try to get him to come back to a game. He held a grudge for being fired in what he considered was an unfair manner. So when he parted with the school in 2000, he refused to set foot back in their assembly hall, not even when they inducted him into the school's Hall of Fame in 2009. He refused to show up. In 2020, however, he showed up at Assembly Hall for an Indiana-Purdue game with a roaring, sold-out crowd that was full of dozens of his former players. Thought that was kind of a nice note to go out on that one. I was standing there and he was Coach Knight, recalled former player Randy Whitman, who had a key role in the reunion. It was like he hadn't left that locker room. The words he gave to those players before they went out on the floor, it was fabulous. All right, so fun facts. From 1971 to 2000, he won an average of almost 23 games per season, had 11 Big Ten titles, and 3 national championships. He is one of only 3 coaches to win the Triple Crown, so an NCAA championship, the NIT championship in Puerto Rico, and an Olympic gold medal. During his career, he received Coach of the Year 4 times, Big Ten Coach of the Year 8 times. I feel that I should also mention he's hugely known for the motion offense. So the definition of that from Wikipedia was, which uses player movement often as a strategy to exploit the quickness of the offensive team or to neutralize a size advantage of the defense. In my mind, it just, I picture like when everybody's moving constantly. That's
Pretty
very hard
much.
to defend
Yeah.
against. Yeah. That's how they play basketball these days.
Mhm.
When he finished his career in 2008, he was the coach with the 3rd most wins at 902. Currently, he is the 6th all-time leader, with Mike Krzyzewski being number 1 at
Krzyzewski.
1,000. How?
Mike Krzyzewski.
I am never going to say that right in my life. Sorry,
Coach
sorry,
K.
Coach Mike. He
Coach
has
K.
1,202 wins. And as a side note, I think it's important to mention Coach Bobby Knight is his mentor.
Yep.
He's the one that recruited him and got him in there. So I also think it's worth mentioning that in general, as I kind of mentioned a little bit, but he just doesn't seem to be aware of his bad attitude or the way he spoke to people or anything. He's very, I'm not saying that excuses any of his behaviors, but he seemed very clueless. So on his website directly, I wanted to read like his own opinion on himself.
Mhm.
This is how the website describes his coaching philosophy. So it says, Coach Knight was one of college basketball's most successful and innovative coaches, having popularized the motion offense. Thus, his teams were known for their proficient passing and unselfishness. On defense, Knight was a proponent of tenacious man-to-man defense. However, occasionally he would implement a zone defense to throw opponents off guard. His schemes were flexible and could adapt to different styles. Knight also evolved his offenses over the years, incorporating new developments in basketball. He was also known for giving his players option plays that they could run depending on the opponent's defense. And then it also simply says, just this one sentence, he was known as a disciplinarian. He believed in holding players accountable and coaching them with tough love. Well, that's what he has to say
Mhm.
about his attitude. So it's also important to mention many of his former players, not all of them, but many of them described a love-hate relationship while playing for him and a lasting admiration after. On an ending note, I wanted to use a quote from John Feinstein on his 25th anniversary edition of Season on the Brink. He says his good qualities are so good. His bad qualities are so bad. If I had $1 for every time someone told me a story about encountering Knight and finding him gracious and charming and funny, I would never have to work another day in my life. If I also had $1 for every time I've been told a story about Knight being a bully or being rude and obnoxious, I'd be Bill Gates. There just isn't anyone like Knight, for better and for worse.
All
That's it.
right. That's awesome.
Yeah, what an
That
interesting
is
character.
Awesome. I want to add, when I was going to Grand Canyon University for my master's in leadership,
Yeah.
one of the classes, the entire class was pretty much about breaking down the leadership styles between Bobby Knight and Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, who is the coach of Duke
Yeah.
for the majority of his time. One of the things that I love that most people don't know, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but while he was coaching at Army, his point guard was Mike Krzyzewski.
Yes. I didn't
So
mention it, but I did read that.
so Bobby Knight, you just heard how tough he was, right?
Yeah.
Mike Krzyzewski was huge on servant leadership, which was always doing what is best for your people to get the best out of them, right?
Yeah.
So he never yelled, he never screamed. He's also known by the majority of his players as a father figure to them. But the
Right.
coaching styles were totally different. But
Right.
yet we're talking about two of the greatest coaches of all time, two
There's
different
something to be
styles.
said for someone coming at you with that kind of energy and you being able to like set that aside and get the roots of what the actual message in the coaching was. This coaching style and what you're actually coaching can be two completely different things. And they were both about being selfless with the ball and just in general having good teamwork and whatnot.
Absolutely. All right, great job on that. It was a last minute thing. Obviously, I mean, he just passed away a few days ago, so we just made the decision yesterday that we wanted to do something to honor Coach Knight.
Yeah.
So awesome job on that. If you've missed any past episodes, or the basketball show is still relatively new. This is basically episode number 2
Super
of
easy
the
to catch up
basketball
if you
show.
need to.
Yeah. Make sure you go to heroesmediagroup.com, heroesmediagroup.com, if you want to listen to any past podcasts for the basketball show or for the football show, which also airs live on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Again, Arizona time. Right now we're Pacific time. When you change your clocks, we jump to Mountain time because we don't touch our clocks because we're awesome. We don't bother with that nonsense. All right. So there is a part on the I believe it's tribal land in the northeast of Arizona. They actually do daylight savings time. So it's not the whole state, but it's pretty damn close to the whole state that we don't bother with it. So
Pretty close.
all right. So with that being said, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for those that jumped on the live stream. That's it for us. Have a great weekend. We're gonna watch some in-season tournament. It kicks off in about 15 minutes. So
Yep.
you can learn more about the teams that you picked. So awesome. Take care, everybody.
Bye.